A very good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone, and welcome to the 6th installment of our NGPA Up in the Air webinar series. My name is Brian Gambino, president of the NGPA. So glad you could join us here at what has become a regular spot, Wednesdays, 4 p.m. Eastern Time. It's so good to see so many familiar names in our attendee list and lots of new names joining us as well. We thank you for taking the time to spend some time with us here at NGPA, as well as our presenting company for the day, which is Southwest Airlines. The Up in the Air webinar series is a play on words for us, and it's been a replacement for our NGPA Industry Expo event, which should have been held last month in Palm Springs, California. Up in the air, there's so much up in the air right now within the world and within the aviation industry especially. And this webinar series is meant to bring companies direct to your screens to talk about the pandemic era challenges that have been facing them, how they're maneuvering these challenges, how are they doing different things to be successful in this time, as well as plans for recovery and future growth plans as we all round the corner on this interesting time that the world has been experiencing. Joining me today, some other members of NGPA, NGPA's Vice President Troy Merritt, as well as the Chair of the Women's Committee here at NGPA, Natasha Fuller. Troy, a very good afternoon. How's it going?
Good, Brian. How are you?
You're really bright all of a sudden.
Yeah, I know that my office faces the window and it's great, except for the, sun changes direction and all of a sudden it's different colors and different everything. So.
Well, thanks for joining us. And Natasha, good to see you as well.
Hey, likewise. Thank you for having me today, gentlemen.
Brian, are you handing that off to me then?
It's yours, Troy.
Okay.
Come on.
Sounds good. I just got thrown under the bus there. It's okay. So I'm going to introduce NGPA a little bit, talk a little bit about our organization for everybody. I'm Troy Merritt. I'm the vice president for NGPA. I've been a part of NGPA since 2016 when I first joined, started volunteering, and kind of got roped into this whole leadership thing working with Brian. Actually, Brian and I decided that if we were going to take on bigger roles at NGPA, we wanted to do it together. So I'm excited to be a part of NGPA and work with some wonderful people like Brian, like Natasha, and a lot of our other volunteers. NGPA has been around for about 30 years. We celebrated our 30-year anniversary in 2020 in Palm Springs with our big 30-year anniversary celebration there. And in those 30 years, NGPA has grown and changed quite a bit. For a long time, we were a very small organization with a few hundred members. And after 2000, we started to get a little bit more recognition as the world became more LGBT friendly. People started to learn about us and join our organization. And about 6-7 years ago, our organization really started to grow. We started gaining some of our sponsors started joining us and sponsoring the organization. Big names like Southwest Airlines, other major airlines, big companies like Airbus and others like that started joining and supporting our organization. And our membership also grew. We went from several hundred to over 25, almost 3,000 active members. But like everybody, COVID has been tough on our organization. That's why we're doing what we're doing today, is having these webinars and trying to keep connected to the community and to our stakeholders and our sponsors and our corporate friends in the industry, like Southwest Airlines, by hosting these events like we have today. So I wanted to share that one thing, these events are put on for free for everybody. One thing you can do, if you are not a member already, you can become a member today and support NGPA. It has been a tough year for us, and we appreciate all the help that we can get. And it takes staff. We have our full-time staff member, Luke, myself, Brian, and we have an office and all the stuff that goes into supporting this. Even using this Zoom platform costs us a decent amount of money every month. So we ask that something you can do for us in return is by joining NGPA as a member. Go to our website, go to the top there and click join now and become a member today. You can become a member for $49. We have an ally membership, we have a regular membership, and we have a family membership. So you and your partner, your spouse can join for $79. And if you're a student and you're actively learning how to fly, we have student memberships for $20. So we encourage you to go to our website, check out our membership page, and consider joining NGPA today. And if you've been a member in the past, we ask that you consider renewing your membership. So we appreciate that. I'm going to introduce Natasha. Natasha's been a member for about 6 years now, 5 years, 2016, we looked it up. I've gotten to know Natasha over the last couple of years as well. And I admire Natasha quite a bit. I remember one of the first things she talked about when I first met her. She was talking about how she had advocated for LGBT people in Utah when she was younger, and that really I don't know why that story stands out so much, Natasha. It was the first thing I remember you telling about me, but I've admired you ever since for never for always being a loud and active voice for our community, and for bringing your voice to NGPA as well. So I'll let you spend some more time introducing yourself, talking about Southwest, and Natasha's actually going to introduce some of our friends here from Southwest that are joining us today.
Yes, awesome. Well, thank you for making me blush right before I have to speak. So
That's what I was trying to do.
As Joy had said, my name is Natasha Fuller, and I am one of the co-chairs for the NGPA Women's Committee. In supporting the Women's Committee, it's also another co-chair, Kirsten Orrick, who's not on the webinar today, but she is my 50%, the yin to my yang. So shout out to you, Kirsten. Now, the committee, it's a unique niche within the NGPA organization. So we encompass different female identifying members from all aspects of aviation. So it could be anywhere from general aviation enthusiasts to commercial airline crews, and then even some of the first female fighter pilots. And one thing to note too about the NGPA is that it's not all just about LGBT folks. It's also our allies. So don't hesitate to join the NGPA or participate in any of our events if you are identifying other outside of the LGBT community. Because quite frankly, the allies are what shoulders we stand on. But kind of reversing back a little bit, so women, we make up roughly 6% of pilots worldwide. So while the community is robust, the Women's Committee at the NGPA, we try to concentrate a lot of our efforts in supporting members by providing an avenue to meet, to connect with one another, and quite frankly, just become a constant and visible presence that provides resources to our membership. So there's a lot of value into joining the NGPA. We also network at the various NGPA flagship events, Women in Aviation, as well as OBAP. You know, we supply and support a lot of different scholarships, and again, just have a seat at the table where diversity and inclusion are paramount. So in today's world with COVID, you know, we are relying heavily on virtual programming, and I'm incredibly bummed that, you know, I'm not able to see a lot of you guys in person and everybody else throughout the various events that we spoke of. But this year, with safety in mind, I am thrilled to say that, you know, we were able to facilitate a webinar for the upcoming Women in Aviation conference. And it is titled Cleared for Takeoff, Generating Mental Lift While Grounded. So you can check it out. It's on the Women in Aviation website starting on March 11th through the end of the month. So go take a look at that. Now, one thing, full disclosure, I'm also a Southwest Airlines first officer based in Las Vegas. So I'm incredibly proud and excited to be here today and represent one of my favorite airlines, the Love Airline. I've been with Southwest just shy of 3 years, and I've had the opportunity to fly with some of the most amazing crews in this industry. So thank you for letting me be here and be a part of this webinar today, guys.
No, thank you for being here, and thank you for being such an incredible voice for women. You are a role model, whether you know it or not, for aspiring women, and for the work that you've done at the Women in Aviation conferences in the years past, representing NGPA, and for the work that you and your team have put into this virtual portion of the Women in Aviation conference. It really is inspiring for women who are just getting a taste of the fact that they can actually be pilots. And so the work you do is absolutely outstanding. And like you said, representing just such a small portion of pilots across the industry, 6%, such a small voice, but you speak so well for that smaller voice. And I'm so glad to see you doing the work that you and your team does, along with Kirsten, to really promote women in aviation, to promote women of NGPA. So thank you for what you do. You don't need to thank us for being here. So no, thank you, Natasha.
Well, quite frankly, let's thank all the folks who are joining us today on this webinar, everybody who's tuning in live, and as well as the supporting airlines, Southwest today. So thank you, guys.
Well, I guess with that, we'll go ahead and get started here with our presentation from Southwest. How's that sound?
Yes, we have a great team from Southwest Airlines here today. We do have the Senior Manager of Flight Operations, Dave Retnam, here with us today, as well as Kristen Brandstetter, who is Manager of Pilot Hiring at Southwest. And to kick off the presentation right now, we're going to hand it off to the Senior Manager of Flight Operations. That's Dave Retnam. Dave, good afternoon. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Good afternoon, Brian. Hope you guys can hear me well. Quick audio check.
We can hear you just great.
100%.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, guys. It is an honor to be able to spend some time with you today. I want to thank the NGPA for the privilege of the opportunity to speak with you all. I love this organization, fell in love with it in 2019. I love what it stands for. Specifically, I want to thank your team, Brian, yourself, Troy, our pilots that are near and dear to our hearts, Natasha and Captain Stephen Tustin, who's on the NGPA board. Thank you for having us today and our team. I want to start off a little bit. Oh, by the way, yes, I'm Dave Retnam, Senior Manager of Flight Operations for Southwest. I'm one of our chief pilots. I've been a Southwest pilot for the last 20 years. And like I said, it's truly a privilege to be with you guys today. I'll start off with a little bit of Southwest history about who we are. You know, the story of the cocktail napkin is famous, infamous, I suppose. You know, when Roland King and Herb Kelleher, our chairman emeritus, who passed away sadly, you know, about this time, about 2 years ago now, unfortunately, they were sitting in a bar in San Antonio, and Roland King drew out the famous Texas Triangle connecting Dallas, Houston, and San Antonio. And Herb audaciously said, "Sounds like a crazy plan, let's do it." So we started off, it was an uphill battle to get started, but we first started flying in 1971. So, you know, more specifically, this is our 50th anniversary. And it's a big deal for us, which, you know, sadly, it's a strange pandemic here. We're a company that loves to celebrate, you know, and celebrate each other. And it's going to be a little bit muted for our 50th anniversary today, but we started off serving only 3 cities with 3 airplanes, and we grew to have the network that we have today. You know, you know, pandemic, we still have over 750 airplanes in our fleet, serving over 100 cities in a very, very unique point-to-point network. Move on to the next slide. So, you know, today we've now grown to be the largest carrier in the United States by passenger numbers, you know, and by passenger volume. Again, pointing back to pre-pandemic, which, you know, I think so many of us have to point to, because this last year has been difficult for all of us, bizarre as we've made adjustments. But before the pandemic started, we operated about 4,000 flights a day, and we had transported about 500,000 passengers per day. You know, Southwest, you know, while we are an airline and we fly airplanes, at our very, very core, we like to think of ourselves as a customer service and hospitality company. Our mission is ultimately to serve the public by helping them find and serve their purpose. So to that end, you know, our mission and our purpose, as stated, you know, we want to connect people to what's important in their lives through friendly, reliable, and low-cost travel. Don't necessarily have to read the slide, but, you know, and our vision is to become the most loved, most efficient, most profitable airline. To that end, I want to really kind of think about 2 thoughts. You know, when I think about what passion it takes to, and how fulfilling it is, you know, to fill out our purpose and our vision, you know, coming to work here at Southwest ultimately ends up being not just a career, but it's a calling. It's a calling to the people that you connect with, and a calling to serve people at a higher level. And I'll expound on that in just a little bit as we go on. But I also want to point to our vision, and our vision is interesting. You know, we want to be the world's most loved, most efficient, most profitable airline. You know, so to that end, our previous manager of pilot hiring, a guy named Rocky Calkins, used to love to say that world domination is ultimately our goal. I like to soften that a little bit by saying that world domination is our goal, but with a touch of humility, heart, and compassion. You know, the very, very best thing I love about Southwest Airlines is how we treat each other. in my 20 years at this airline, I've survived now, 3 cataclysmic events that have affected the industry. Through it all, what I'm proudest of is the way that we treat each other. I walk down the terminal building and I've never met a stranger when I see a Southwest person. And it shines through in everything that we do. I want to point to our Southwest values and how they kind of filter through everything we do. And it starts with ourselves, how we work from an individual level. And if you look at this specific chart, it talks about what we have to set for ourselves as goals. These are the expectations that I need to bring and the attributes that I need to bring to the table as a Southwest employee. Pride and professionalism and how I present myself at work. Making sure that I show up with integrity every day in all the interactions that I have, and ultimately with humility. Because it's at the core of how we have to interact with each other. If I show up and I exhibit these characteristics, it reflects in how I work with others and my team, and ultimately lends towards the overall efficiency of what Southwest Airlines is able to do. Integrity leads to honesty and how we again in all the interactions that we have with each other, being transparent, being vulnerable, and knowing as teammates that we can be there for each other. All that stuff lends into having a very disciplined approach to our operation because we're there for each other. We know we can count on each other. And finally, going back to the attribute of humility, having service with heart. And I mentioned this a minute ago, it's how we treat each other. And it is at the core of how we want to achieve operational excellence. So we want to provide an environment where our employees, our cohorts, if you will, we find a stable, fulfilling work environment, place that they want to go to every day. And they know that if they come here, they work hard, we treat each other well, that shines through, and it shines through to our passengers as well. When we structure our operational philosophy, like every airline, safety is the very, very top of those priorities. But we have to balance those things, with having a low cost approach, which is at the core of efficiency, right? So, but that is a trade-off between our ability to deliver the product reliably. If you press towards reliability and push to 100% completion, you tend to do that by increasing your costs, right? But at the very top of it, you always have to keep safety in mind. So with this sort of operational philosophy, regardless of the fact that it's so technical, it requires a high degree of proficiency, a high level of execution. At the very, very heart of it, you'll see that hospitality is at the core of everything we do. And this is why it's, again, I go back to what I say, it's how we treat each other. If we do that well, that will shine through in how we treat our passengers, and which is again, it leads back to us having the highest net promoter score in the airline industry, which is a net promoter score that's on the same bar as some of the most loved companies in the country. So what does it take to be a Southwest pilot? And you guys have heard, there's lots of gouge out there when you go, when you learn about how to get ready for a Southwest interview, and everybody knows about the 3 things we look for: the warrior spirit, the servant's heart, and the fun living attitude. But these are not just slogans, these are things that we live and breathe at Southwest. Warrior spirit comes from the very, very core of how we started. We were an underdog. Everybody tried to put us out of business. It is the tenacity that you demonstrate and the will to succeed. And the servant's heart is more about servant leadership. And what is servant leadership? Servant leadership is to lead, to serve others. And I always approach this as a core foundational principle for how I deal with things in a leadership role. I'm here to serve the people of the airline and to serve our passengers. So the servant's heart is at the core, very, very core of that. And finally, we like to have fun, but a fun living attitude is not just about being audacious. It's not about showing up with a colorful tie. It's really about being able to laugh at yourself and live, love, and laugh with your cohorts, because life's too short. We want to provide you with a place that is exciting to work, that you want to come to be at, every day. I believe truly that we have that's the secret to our success. To that end, when I talk about things like servant's heart, warrior spirit, fun-loving attitude, we are the love airline. And we try to demonstrate that with our people, but we also want, because of the types of people that we hire a lot of folks that have heart and passion, and they want to give back, and they want to demonstrate the types of people that we are. And we open up those sorts of channels to our employees to be able to extend their love to their communities. Southwest Airlines has for years supported charities and organizations through a program called Tickets for Time. We encourage our employees to go out, volunteer in the community, provide their voice, provide their talents. Southwest will support them by providing them with tickets for the time that they volunteer to donate to these organizations, so these organizations can use them either as rewards or raffles for those sorts of things that would benefit those organizations. It's a program that we are proud of, and we continue to support, and we stand behind. More targeted, I guess, in that fashion is how we service that specific drive for our pilots. We've had the Adopt a Pilot program for many years. I'm a longtime Adopt a Pilot volunteer, and in this program, a Southwest pilot will go and volunteer with a 5th grade class. And I would show up at the start of the school day. I'd spend the entire school day rotating through every class with a 5th grade science teacher, and through which I have spent the time interacting with thousands of kids in the community. And I mean, the dividends are, I have gained so much more from the time that I've spent with kids than I ever felt that I gave them. Because I walk through the community today and they go, "Aren't you Mia's dad? Aren't you Devin's dad? We loved when you spent your time with us." Hey, Captain Dave. I see folks, kids now who are adults at the grocery store that will stop me and talk to me. So again, we really encourage our pilots to go out there. It's also part of what we do. It ties into things like programs that we have with Destination 225. You get to be an ambassador for the career that we love and for the company that you love, and spend some time with some remarkable young people. So that's a great program. We're very proud of it. So looking forward, right? It's hard for us to look forward without really looking back at this last year. It's like I said, we started off with flying 4,000 flights a day, and 500,000 people a day, and everything comes crashing down in March of last year. We're currently operating about half of that portfolio, about 2,000 flights a day, and transporting about half as many people, with 200 of our airplanes stored in various states of storage. Our goal is to bring our airplanes back to work. We've got 20% of our pilots that have taken some form of voluntary leave. We want to bring our pilots back from voluntary leave. We want to put our airplanes back to work, and we've got plan to do that. So what we've done is we've quietly started to increase the number of cities we serve. We've added 14 cities that we didn't serve before the pandemic. We're currently serving 111 cities, and we're not done. We've got quite a few more left to go. The airline has got ambitious plans. Like many other airlines, we've seen a reduction in our business travel. We haven't seen that go away completely. Southwest made the investment the decision very early on in the pandemic that we would continue to leave capacity out and deployed, so that our customers would feel confident in the way Southwest was able to continue to serve their communities. Additionally, the execution on the Southwest promise that all of our employees complied with mask mandates, and we provided a safe and reliable product for customers to get on, that has lent into increased consumer confidence in the way Southwest can execute. So we want to do those things. It's kind of a multi-pronged strategy. We're going to prop up the loss of business travel by going after more leisure markets. We're going to continue to strengthen the core of what Southwest provides in the markets that we currently serve. For instance, markets like that we underserved in the past, because we would always try to maximize our profitability. We're now going to dedicate assets to beefing up those markets and making sure that we protect our core. Ultimately, putting all of our airplanes back to work, all of our people back to work. And finally, this year, it's very big. Before the pandemic started, the biggest problem that we had was the fact that the 737 MAX was grounded. This year, we get to reintegrate the MAX back into our fleet. It starts flying again on March 11th. We're really, really excited about that. A lot of work has gone into bringing the MAX back into service. We're a 737 airline. We don't have a segmented pilot population. So we had to make sure that all of our pilots were ready to fly the MAX, and the MAX was ready to deliver for our customers before we could put it back. So this is how we're going to keep Southwest Airlines strong going forward in the future. So we have a 4-pronged strategy to do that. We're currently still in the survive mode. Like every airline that's out there, we have to contain costs. We have to find a way to put our airplanes back to work. The stuff that's public knowledge is the fact that things like our debt to equity ratio is still very good. We have been able to really, really pare down our daily cash burn. So that's all part of our survive strategy. Retire airplanes that are inefficient, replace them with more efficient 737 MAX aircraft, and then start to integrate new markets and reintegrate markets that we've had to pull out of on the international portfolio as some restrictions begin to relax on the international side. We have to stabilize the airline mix, get back to a sustainable break-even point like every airline has to. And then pay back our obligations. Every airline in this country has had to take on tremendous debt to get ourselves out of this. And debt requires debt service as well, which is a reality all of us have to confront. Southwest wants to keep a strong balance sheet. Like I said, we had the strongest balance sheet in the industry prior to the pandemic, and we feel that we can emerge as the strongest carrier at the end of this journey. Then we have to repair our networks, build back stronger than we ever were before, and finally get to the point where we thrive once again and return to pre-pandemic levels. And that's when we know that we're truly out of it. But with that, once again, I want to thank everybody for the opportunity to speak to you guys today. Once again, appreciate the NGPA team. I love this organization. And I'll kick it back to Brian and team. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dave. I greatly appreciate it. Love hearing about the history, the heart, and all that goes into making Southwest great, and the ways you're navigating this pandemic. That's definitely been very interesting to hear as we've talked to all of our airlines out there. So next up from the Southwest team, I believe that's you, Janelle.
Yes. Good
Janelle
afternoon,
is
Brian.
the lead talent acquisition team from the people department at Southwest. So Janelle, thanks so much for joining us. It's your show.
Thank you, Brian. And thank you, NGPA, for having us here today. Like Brian said, my name is Janelle Rayford, and I am a team leader in our people department. I've been with Southwest for 5 years, been a part of the pilot hiring process since day one. I had the privilege of attending NGPA conferences in the past. I have enjoyed interacting and being a part of those events, and I'm super excited to have the opportunity to engage and chat with you guys as I discuss our work around diversity, equity, and inclusion. So Dave mentioned that we are celebrating 50 years of service this year. And we know that in order to maintain and sustain another 50 years, diversity, equity, and inclusion has to be ingrained into the fabric and soul of everything we do and every decision that we make. And next slide, please. Yes. And Herb Kelleher, our loved founder, there's several things that he said in quotes that resonates with me. But one that I wanted to call out is the business of business is people. Yesterday, today, and forever. You take care of your people. Happy people will make your customers happy. When your customers are happy, your shareholders will be happy. So this has been the foundation of everything that we've done ever since we've started in 1971. As Southwest strives to create an environment for people, we want to make sure that regardless if someone has been on our team for 1 year, 5 years, or 20 years, whenever they walk into their work environment, that they feel valued, appreciated, and that this is a place where they want to stay. And we want that feeling to be passed on to our customers and to our business partners. We appreciate every single individual that flies with us and makes the decision to work with us. And we want to ensure that they feel how much we appreciate and value them. But we know in order to continue to enhance those relationships with our community, with our employees, and with our customers, we have a responsibility to continue to evaluate the needs of our employees and the communities that we serve. The landscape of what our hiring and companies needs and customers needs, they look different. The landscape in 2021 is completely different than what it looked like in 2018. And so another one of Herb's quotes that resonates with me is, if you don't change, you die. So we have been on this journey for 50 years, making sure that we are appreciating everyone's different perspectives. So in 1971, we started an airline with a different philosophy, and we identified a different way to fly. In 2007, we identified ways that we can find out how our employees want to be celebrated and recognized, and created an employee-based diversity council that recognizes and celebrates a variety of backgrounds that are represented at Southwest. In 2011, our D&I department became a formalized department. In 2018, we were intentional about expanding commitments with our community partners and continue to strive to have an impact on the communities that we serve. So now in 2020, we have been very specific and intentional about identifying different goals within our walls to enhance and increase diversity within our senior leadership, and even more ways to reflect our diverse demographics in the communities that we serve. So DE&I has never been a check the box or nice to have exercise. It is a business imperative in order for us to sustain in our business, and we will continue to utilize our guiding principles around inclusion to continue to sustain for the next 50 years. So as we work towards our goals in 2025, we want to recognize that we have created and been intentional about creating a framework and 5 pillars that we want to focus on. And this is definitely collaboration between multiple departments, and we have to work together in order for us to meet this goal. I'm not going to go through every single pillar on this slide, but I just want to make sure I call out a couple of thoughts and ideas. So around hiring and development, just like Dave mentioned that we take time to evaluate and reevaluate our routes, we do the same thing with our hiring and selection, sourcing and engagement processes as well. We want to ensure that we're partnering with organizations like NGPA, OBAP, and Women in Aviation that have the same mission and values that we do, making sure that we are collaborating with them along with our community and outreach department to leverage those relationships in order to make sure that we are building a strong pipeline of qualified, talented, diverse candidates. We're being strategic around how we partner with HBCUs in diverse colleges and universities. This is our pipeline for internships and our Destination 225 program, which Kristen will be discussing, later on in the presentation. We are investing in tools that will allow us to have even more engagement with potential candidates and allow them to be up to date with the latest and greatest that's going on with Southwest. Previously, Dave mentioned the work that we do with Adopt a Pilot. Now we will have the ability to stay engaged with all of those thousands and thousands of kids that we've had the opportunity to meet over the years. We'll be able to notify them when we have aviation days in our different communities, when there's high school internships, college internships, Destination 225, and really keeping the next generation of aviation professionals engaged and ready to go for those aviation careers. And for our folks that are already in aviation that are becoming new to join the Southwest family, we've been very intentional about our onboarding programs, making sure that our crews have mentors that can help them with transition. As they want to move up in their careers, we have leadership development classes, resume review classes, interview prep to help everyone get to where they want to go and what to get to the spaces that's important for them. And we've also identified that training is just as important for our employees to understand how diversity, equity, and inclusion is important to Southwest Airlines. We've had conversations and trainings around bias and where it does show up in the employee life cycle. We've had trainings around how we can celebrate the differences in each other and why that's important in order for our company to sustain, and things that we can personally do to cultivate an inclusive culture at Southwest, because the culture does start and continue to grow with each individual. So we have created a diversity, equity, and inclusion promise that we will continue to work as a team to value each other and respect each other. This year has been challenging, different types of obstacles that we had never imagined that we would go through before. But we showed up for each other and we were able to support each other when things got extremely difficult. So we have seen that valuing each other for our unique differences, respecting each other and respecting the ideas, allowing everyone to show up to be their authentic selves has helped us continue to thrive, and it will help us to continue to grow. So treating each other's with the golden rule is one thing that is going to continue to be ingrained in our culture, treating others in a way that you wish to be treated. And Gary Kelly, our chairman and CEO, one of my favorite quotes from him, I love quotes, is they can match our airplanes, they can fly to the same airports, they can buy the same jet fuel, but they cannot match our people. And that is connected back to Herb's quote around the business of business is people. And we will need to continue to find, hire, develop amazing people as we continue to grow and be successful and connect people to what's most important for them as an airline. So that's all I had to chat with you guys about today. And thank you again to NGPA for allowing us to present and talk to you guys. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Janelle. I love your piece about diversity and inclusion, particularly as it pertains to in the workplace. So now we're going to hand it off over to the manager of pilot hiring, Captain Kristen Brandstetter. So thank you for joining us.
Good afternoon, everyone. And thank you all very much for being here and allowing us to have this opportunity to speak with you today. I would have to admit, okay, there I am. I was looking and making sure that my camera was on, you all can see me okay, and now I can see it. This is a wonderful opportunity for us to address the membership of NGPA. And I know everyone is very busy and we appreciate this opportunity to meet with all of you. Again, my name is Kristen Brandstetter and I'm a captain here at Southwest. I'm our manager of pilot hiring. I've been at Southwest 16 years, live here in Dallas, based here in Dallas, and I've been working in our pilot hiring department for about 14 years. So for any of you all have attended any job fairs or anything like that, we probably had the opportunity to meet, and I look forward to the opportunity to meet all of you in person again at some point in time, which I'm definitely ready for to see you all. I see a chat that says that someone can't see me. Can everyone else see me?
It looks like your video's up properly here.
Okay, perfect. I just wanted to make sure. All right, thank you. All right, I'm going to go ahead and get started, talk a little bit about today with you about our Destination 225 program. I'm going to also provide a hiring update and then start leading into some of the questions. I did have the opportunity while Dave and Janelle were speaking to look through the question and answer. So I did write down a couple of your questions. I will address a few of them, and then I will go ahead and turn it over to Natasha or Brian to field the questions to the rest of our team as we round out our presentation. So I'll go ahead and start with our Destination 225 program. And Destination 225 is just a pathway program that Southwest created. And many would wonder, why would Southwest create a pathway program? Well, much like all the other carriers, the goal of Destination 225 pathway program is to provide a avenue to bring pilots into Southwest that reduces the demand to the traditional or open source hiring. A pathway program for Southwest gives us the opportunity to train future pilots on how we fly here at Southwest, but most importantly, be able to teach them and show them the Southwest way over the time period at which they are within the Destination 225 program. Our pathway program was designed with multiple entry points that all lead to the same common goal of becoming a pilot here at Southwest. Before we start talking about the program itself, I want to go ahead and talk a little bit about the program name. So let's kind of break it down a little bit. So destination, what does that mean? I looked it up, and the technical definition says a place at which someone or something may be sent, which is true. It also says a landing place or a journey's end, which I think is really appropriate. Now let's think about 225. On a compass rose, what direction is 225 degrees? Well, it's southwest. So the Destination 225 can be defined as a landing place or journeys into Southwest Airlines. All right, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the program itself. The pathway program has 4 pathways underneath the Destination 225 umbrella. That's the cadet pathway, university pathway, employee pathway, and the military pathway. The cadet pathway is an ab initio program, or meaning from the beginning. So someone who applies to our Destination 225 program who has 0 flight experience or maybe up to a private pilot certificate would be a candidate for the cadet pathway. This pathway is, they would at that point go to CAE. We use the Phoenix facility for their flight training, which will take approximately 13 months. After they receive all their flight training, they will then flight instruct at CAE. Once they get a designated or number of flight hours and one of our partners is ready for them, which should be around 800 hours, and they will then transition to build their experience at one of our partners. We have 3 partners that we have within our program at this point. We have ExoJet, JetLinks, and iAero. ExoJet is a fractional ownership company or a 91K company. So if you chose to go to ExoJet, you would then be trained on a specific airplane and you would fly for them for approximately 3 years before transitioning to Southwest. JetLinks is a 135 company. So you would be trained on a specific airplane that you're going to fly out of a designated location for the appropriate time, which would be around 3 years as well. And then you could transition to Southwest Airlines. iAero is a 121 supplemental carrier, which flies 737. So if you chose to go there, then you would fly for them for about 3 years again. You can kind of see the trend here, and then go to transition to Southwest. Out of all of our pathway programs, you're going to see as we talk about it, I discussed the multiple different kind of entry points and background. They all kind of converge at the point of becoming a flight instructor. That's where they meet and take you to the pathway program. So you'll see that as we keep going through this. The University Pathway Program is a pathway that's designed for, we have 4 primary universities that are in our program at this point. We have the University of Oklahoma, Southeastern Oklahoma State University, Arizona State University, and the University of Nebraska at Omaha. So a student that is attending one of these 4 universities could apply to the pathway program, University Pathway Program, and if accepted, they will continue their flight training at continue their flight training at that university. They'll then flight instruct for them once they meet the flight requirements, again, approximately 800 hours or so. They will then transition to build their experience at one of our partners, being ExoJet, JetLinks, or iAero. The Employee Pathway Program is a very unique pathway that is designed for a current employee of Southwest Airlines to have the opportunity to transition to a pilot for the company. Each one of these is handled really individually on what the employee's experience could be. So if an employee that's interested, if they have 0 flight time to a private pilot, they would be a good candidate for the CAE program. If they have more flight training than the private pilot's license, then at that point, they may be a good candidate to go to US Aviation, which we partner with the Denton location here in Denton, Texas. And they will then go there, complete any flight training that might be required, flight instruct, and then, as you guessed it, transition to ExoJet, JetLinks, or iAero. Our military pathway is a pathway program that has been created for military personnel that do not meet our requirements to apply through the traditional open source hiring. I have noticed in some of the questions here, you talk about rotor time, and will that be, is that counted on your application? Our traditional hiring, our minimums are 2,500 hours total time, or 1,500 turbine, and those are fixed wing requirements. So somebody who would be a candidate for the military pathway would be someone that had some flight experience but does not meet those requirements. The type of requirements of this would, an example of this would be somebody who has primary helicopter experience, or maybe flown some, but has primarily been a navigator, and they would then apply for the military pathway program. We would, if accepted into the program, we would then evaluate how much flight time they have and decide if they needed to complete some of their flight training at US Aviation. If they are eligible for the ATP CTP, we would then recommend that they enter the program through Bell Murray Aviation, which is a company that would then give them their ATP CTP, and then with that ATP, you'd be able to transition over to iAero and fly 737 for that carrier. Within this whole pathway program, we have some unique things that are tied into it, as you would expect from Southwest, that make us stand out from other programs. One thing that we have is the mentor program. When a pilot enters into one of our pathway programs, they will be assigned a volunteer mentor that is a pilot at Southwest that will support them throughout the program, from the time at which they start their Destination 225 program up until they've been at Southwest for a year. The idea behind the mentor is just to have a liaison that is connected to Southwest, that has the experience, that has the background, and can help support this person within the program through questions they have, challenges. You know, life happens and you need somebody to talk to. And this mentor is a great place to be able to get factual information, help them out, and then relay to us, hey, you know, this is going on with this person. And so we can know how to help them out. Another thing the mentors do is they facilitate touch points throughout the pathway programs. So this is time periods at which the mentors will get together as a group, and we can't wait till we can do this in person again. Right now it's all being done virtually, but then they just talk about what was your last phase of training like? What can you expect with the next phase? How are things going? And this is also a great opportunity for us to instill the Southwest way and our core values and do mentorship that exposes these pilots to us here at Southwest. So whenever they become Southwest pilots, they already understand kind of who we are and what we're all about. This is a very high level look at our Destination 225 pathway programs. At the end of the presentation, we'll have some web addresses that will link to our career site. So if you have more questions, you're welcome to take a look at that. And then of course, feel free to ask something on the Q&A, chat feature, anything like that, that we might be able to help you with. Now let's go ahead and talk a little bit about pilot hiring. As Dave mentioned, whenever he was speaking earlier, here at Southwest, we currently have 57,000 current employees here at Southwest. Of those, over 9,000 are pilots that are on our seniority list. As was mentioned by Dave and Janelle, due to the pandemic, Southwest offered multiple different leave programs to reduce the number of employees we have here on property to preserve the company. With these leave options, we have EXTO, which is extended time off, emergency time off. And then we also had some pilots that took VSP, which is our voluntary separation program. So over 600 pilots chose to take VSP. And we currently have over 2,500 pilots that are out on EXTO. Vague with that number because we just now started, some of those pilots are starting to return back to Southwest. The leave programs we had were 6 months, 1 year to all the way up to 5 years of leave. The reason I'm discussing this is that talks about our active pilots we have here at Southwest, which is over 6,000 active pilots. These pilots are going to start returning back to the seniority list here at Southwest. Whenever when we start calling back these pilots that on EXTO for the extended time periods, like the 5-year point, or before that, when we start asking them to come back early, that would mean that everybody would be given an opportunity to return back to Southwest. Once these pilots have all been given the opportunity to return back to Southwest, that's whenever we will start hiring again. Now, the $20 million question, when will that be? I wish I knew. Unfortunately, I just do not know the answer to that. Our planning department is evaluating the future plans of Southwest on a daily basis. It's a very complex process and is very volatile, as you all know, because you all pay attention to the news and you're living in this world as well. So to answer your question that many are asking, when will we be hiring again? We have no plans to hire in 2021, and all of our EXTO pilots will be given the opportunity to return back to Southwest before we hire a new hire pilot. So I hope that answers that question. We also have received a couple of questions in the chat that talks about our hiring process. Since we do have a little bit of downtime right now, flight operations and the people department are using this time as an opportunity to evaluate our hiring process and see what changes we can make that makes it more efficient for you, more efficient for us, and a better experience for the applicant. A few things that we know won't change. Well, I guess we won't change. We have some questions about recency. As of right now, all of our process and policies that we have are current state. So nothing has changed. Now, that doesn't mean that it won't change. So what we ask you to do is please pay attention to any communication that comes out from us regarding our hiring process, and we'll clearly outline any changes that might occur. Let me see. I'm going to go ahead and flip over here to my notes because I think that might be a couple of things. I think I covered most of that from a hiring standpoint, and then we'll get to a few other questions. This slide here is a quote from Gary Kelly. As you know, he is our CEO. Our people are the single greatest strength and most enduring long-term competitive advantage. As you have heard throughout this whole presentation, we take pride in our people and how we treat others and the culture here at Southwest. We do have a few priorities for our 2021 goals here at Southwest. And those goals they're pretty basic, but they're good goals to have. One is going to be run a great on-time operation with exceptional baggage handling. Second, offer outstanding customer service with unmatched hospitality. 3, achieve a sustained break-even cash flow and earnings by controlling our costs, and then doubling our revenue and customer volumes from our 2020 pandemic levels. As Dave talked about, that has really dropped off, and the only way that we can move forward is to get passengers and customers on the airplanes and out flying again. A 4th goal is to return the MAX to service, which we're on track for that, which is very exciting. And then last but not least, we want to complete a strategic plan, the set of initiatives for our goals for our next 5 years. At Southwest, we've always believed in putting our people first, and happy employees make happy customers. So we're going to do our very best to make everybody out there happy and have a positive experience, so they'll return back and fly on us again. With that, here are a few of the websites where you can go to find out about hiring here at Southwest, the careers page. Then there's also one specifically for the Destination 225 program. If you have any questions that you'd like specifically answered from our pilot hiring team, you can reach us at pilot.hiring@winco.com. I'm going to go ahead and address a couple of questions that I saw in the chat. One question that we have is, should I get a 737 type rating? This is just like we've talked about before from previous years. You're not required to get a 737 type rating. We don't encourage you to go get one, but there is value to having a 737 type rating. That has been a core, it's been our airplane. That's what we've flown. And it has always been important to us that somebody shows value by having a 737 type rating. But we've shifted over the last few years that it's not something that we recommend that you go out and get. Talked a little bit about our junior domiciles. So our last hiring class that we ran was in January of 2020. And so there hasn't been any hiring since then. So there hasn't been much movement in the seniority other than the pilots that have gone out on leave and balancing out the domiciles. So as of right now, our most junior domicile is Oakland. The next is Los Angeles. And this question specifically asked about Orlando. Our most junior pilot in Orlando was hired August of 2019. So relatively junior domicile as well. One thing that I would also like to discuss, because I've had numerous questions talking about application review, interview prep, and things like that. We have talked about this at different hiring briefings throughout the year, and I can't stress it enough, the importance of coming to an interview and being yourself. There's no need at any point, regardless of how Southwest changes their hiring process, that you will need to have someone review your profile, review your application, prepare you for an interview. It's not necessary. If our questions aren't straightforward enough that you don't know how to answer them, you email that pilot hiring email address and say, hey, I have a question. We're doing our very best to make everything as straightforward, and you shouldn't need to have any form of prep on how to complete our application. As for our hiring process and the interview, we know what you look like on paper. That's why we called you in. So we need you to come into the interview whenever we pick back up and just relax and be yourself and let us have a conversation with you. And I know all of you are able to carry on conversations and be yourself. So that's all we need you to do. So we really ask that we just don't feel here at Southwest that it's necessary. And what we'll end up doing is digging into the canned answers that you'll provide us that were given to you from the interview prep, because the guy before you probably said the same thing. And then we'll keep asking it again till we get the answer that we're looking for. And remember, we can't hire you if we don't know who we're hiring. So make for sure that when that opportunity comes up to interview with us, that you are yourself and you're being genuine with us in the process. That was all that I found as I flipped through the question and answers. It looks like we've got a few more in there. So Natasha, I'll turn it over to you or to Brian, whoever would like. If you have any more questions for the panel, we're ready to answer them.
Awesome. Well, I just want to say, first and foremost, you did an amazing job at tackling some of the Q&A questions. You were so proactive in that. So I'm glad that we were able to address several of those, particularly the hot button issue of hiring. I know that that's at the forefront for a lot of people, especially in today's climate with COVID. One thing that you had stated that I, especially coming from a Southwest interview just a few years ago, is that culture and being yourself is paramount. Now that's something that's ingrained in somebody. One of the questions that I've seen in the Q&A, and it's kind of become a constant question, what do you think is something that helps somebody stand out on a piece of paper before they actually get to the interview to represent and show who they are? So for example, you had tackled the type rating, but what about pilot and command time, military time, rotor, college degrees? You can kind of see where I'm going with this question. So I didn't know if you were able to maybe talk about that and let our members know.
Yeah, thanks, Natasha. That's a great question. And there's not any specific flight time or this or that is going to get you an interview at Southwest. The way our screening process is set up is very similar to all the other carriers. And we're looking at the overall applicant. So we're just looking at what all do you have, what all are you bringing to the table? And if you're deficient in one area, then the way it's set up is that you have the other areas to make up for that. So some of the things that we look for here at Southwest is we look at your flight experience. So we'd like to see that you are flying an airplane comparable to what we're doing in the airspace that we're doing it in, because that makes it easier for training and for you to be successful in the training program. We also look at your leadership. What all have you done to go above and beyond just being a pilot? And it's okay to just be a pilot. And that's why you have the other areas that you can help gain some experience from. And then the other thing we look at is education. These are just all different ways that you can stand out from everyone else. Yes, a 4-year degree is not required, but it is preferred here at Southwest.
Awesome. Kristen, you are keeping us on our toes over here with all the answers you're getting in the Q&A. We're like in the background, we're like, oh, she got that one. Oh, she got that one. Wait, we're going to go to the next one. Thank you for being so on the spot there with the Q&A box. You are stellar in that regard.
I don't know what I have a really great question in the chat box that I'm curious to see. You guys talked about your program. I really thought your guys' pathway programs were interesting, how you have them set up for a variety of different folks coming in, like whether they're employees, universities, military. We got somebody here by the name of Matt Slagle. I'm going to read the question for you guys, and it's just got some specifics, might shed some light on the whole program here. I'm a 14-year Southwest employee this month. I started as an ops agent when I was 19, and I'm now a flight attendant. I'm also currently a PIC at a Part 135 that flies PC-12s. I currently have written permission to work for 135, and my goal is to make it back to Southwest without ever leaving. Am I shooting myself in the foot by not going to a 121 carrier, or do you believe this is a possible path to land my dream job?
I'll go ahead and answer that. And thank you very much for the question. And that's phenomenal that you're working so hard at maintaining, you're still working as a flight attendant at Southwest while flying. There couldn't be any harder way to do this. And you're not shooting yourself in the foot by doing that. And as we talked about, it's the overall applicant that we're looking at. So for me to answer that question as to what do, I would need to probably have a one-on-one with you to go ahead and say, here's everything you're bringing to the table, and here's what we can do to make you competitive and get you in a pilot position at Southwest. So I couldn't specifically answer that, and I apologize for that.
Yeah.
But I do ask that if you could reach out to me individually, I'd be happy to discuss that further. Dave, go ahead.
And yeah, if I could dovetail on that a little bit too, definitely take Kristen up on the opportunity to chat. But I'll have you guys all know in the audience that both Kristen and I were 135 pilots. So we made it, and it can be done.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Natasha, we've been kind of talking about this back and forth, and I'm kind of curious, is from Natasha's perspective and from everybody else here who's, with us today, Southwest culture has always stood out to me as unique in the airline industry. I remember once I was in the Atlanta airport when I worked for a previous airline, and a Southwest pilot standing in line with me at the Atlanta Bread Company restaurant just started talking to me, and we ordered our food, and he invited me to come sit down and have lunch with him while we were both on our sits at the airport. And I've never had somebody from another airline be so kind and so nice and just want to chat and have a short afternoon lunch with me. To me, that's something that kind of stands out about the Southwest culture. But could you guys talk a little bit about what culture means at Southwest for the pilots? And one of the specific questions in the chat box was, how have you managed that during your periods of growth? And how do you look to manage that as you continue to grow Southwest Airlines?
Yeah, no, I think that you bring up a really valid point. One of the reasons why I wanted to be at Southwest was for that very reason, the culture. And as they had said earlier, it's not just one of those canned answers. It truly is something that you live and breathe every single day. One thing as a new Southwest pilot that I had noticed is at the very top of our paycheck, okay, if you were to look at a pay statement, it says this is provided on behalf of our Southwest Airlines customers. And I just think that that speaks volumes into that the company truly believes that the way that we treat our employees is the way that we're going to treat our customers. And so it's a very reciprocated agreement in some ways, which sounds very formal, I know, but culture is paramount. And as a Southwest employee, I see it every single day, whether it's interactions between the pilots and then the under the wing crew, or if it's the flight attendants with the gate agents. I mean, it's something that we live and breathe every single day. It is truly something that makes it something that I believe in, and I can't speak enough about it. I'm sure everyone else can probably speak to the culture as well, but I've just been so fortunate to be able to work with some of the most outstanding crews in the industry and really feel at home regardless of what level I'm on in the corporate building.
No, and if I could, that's a great way to describe it, Natasha. If I could touch on that too, it's very, very challenging these days too. For one, when we got to the size of being a 10,000 pilot airline, and with EFBs these days, where pilots are not walking down into the base to check in and see other pilots, it is incumbent upon every Southwest employee to make an effort to keep that connection alive. That is the ultimate challenge. And today, I mean, for every person involved in aviation in some fashion today, you get out in the system, everybody's wearing masks, we're socially distant, we're not taking the opportunity to celebrate each other at the end of the workday, to talk about our successes, and to commiserate about failures and those sorts of things, to share in our experiences. I look forward to the day that we can start to do those things again. But in the meantime, when I go out and I talk to our recurrent training classes and I talk about the culture, I recognize how difficult it is to maintain that And I just go, hey, everybody, this is you, this is us. It's everything that we do every day and all the little gestures you make to ensure that who you were when you started this journey as a Southwest person is still who you are and who you'll continue to be.
Awesome. Well, thank you for covering that. It's already, we've already gone for an hour and 13 minutes here, and we want to be respectful of everyone's time. I'm going to pull one more question. We'll pose this as the final question. It's come through a couple times in the question and answer box. I'm sorry if I put you on the spot. There's a couple people who are asking that they received conditional job offers for Southwest in COVID times, and then and then COVID hit, and then obviously that had to be rescinded. That's happened at a lot of carriers. Do you know if there's plans within the talent acquisition and pilot hiring to reach back out to those folks to put them back through the process, or is that not something that you've been able to tackle yet, since you don't even know when you're going to be hiring again?
I'm glad you asked that question, Brian. I was just getting ready to send you a message to say, please ask that question, since I was jumping ahead and answering them myself. I did miss that one on my list. So you are correct, Brian, with the answer. We just don't know. Since we don't know when we're going to hire, that decision to rescind those job offers to those 60 pilots was one that was made by our leadership very early in the COVID era and quarantine and things like that. So that decision was made without knowing, here's what's going to happen next. And we're going to work through that, and we will let those pilots know that the job offer was rescinded, what the process will be. But unfortunately, we do not know the answer of what the interview will look like, what the process will look like. But we do know who you are, and we do understand what you've gone through. I sat in a pool here for over 2 years, so I understand. I do understand, and we're going to do everything we can to make it right. And we'll communicate that process once we get a little bit closer to the hiring process and know what it's going to be.
And I definitely appreciate you saying that, as we all know. I'm sorry, Dave, go ahead.
Yeah, to reiterate a little bit, yeah, it was a huge gut punch for us. We've never had to do anything like that before. Personally, for Kristen, Janelle, myself, everybody that's involved with it, it was a very difficult message to deliver. And you are near and dear to our hearts. We haven't forgotten about you. When we turn things back on here at Southwest again, be assured that you'll be in our thoughts and in every consideration we make.
I know that all of us, Natasha, Troy, Kristen, Dave, and Janelle, we all know and have had the experiences across different airlines in our careers, as to often how hard it is to get in the door. And then once you put that foot in the door, especially last year, people getting that foot in the door and all of a sudden that door closing, or folks getting to their dream job and then never qualifying on the aircraft. Or folks stepping into the regionals, just coming out of school, flying for the regionals, seeing nothing but an upward trajectory. And all of a sudden that a bat is basically taken to that. So it's been a hard time in so many ways for all of our lives. It's been a hard time in learning how to cope with the different restrictions, learning how to cope with not being together with our families, our friends, the way that we want to, and learning how to cope with a new atmosphere of our work environments. I mean, even my husband hasn't been in his office, and he thrives working with his employees in his business job on a regular basis. He hasn't seen the office in over a year. Portion of his job was traveling internationally at least 6 times a year. He hasn't been on an airplane since last March. So it's just a different world we're all operating in. And it just creates such a really messed up environment that we're all just learning how to tackle and make it through together. And it's events like these that really hopefully re-enliven some energy for things that we want to do, places we want to go, companies we want to work for, companies we're passionate about. And all of us here at NGPA can't say thank you enough. Not only for everyone who's here attending, but specifically to the Southwest Airlines team, Dave, Janelle, and Kristen, for joining us today, shedding some light on the information of things that are going on at Southwest and what's going on internally to make sure that Southwest comes out of this pandemic as strong as before, if not stronger, and back on that trajectory of upward movement, upward growth, soaring high with nothing but love in the sky, right? The Southwest way.
No, I appreciate it. I'll just say thanks too for you guys joining us. It means a lot to NGPA to see your support for our members, You guys have been a great partner of ours for a while now, and so we really appreciate that. I only have one question, and that's when are you guys going to bring back the club seating? Is that a Gary Kelly question?
That might be long gone. It might be an artifact of our history. But you're right. It was a neat thing. A lot of our pastors loved it.
Well, I appreciate you guys joining us today. It's been really exciting to hear from you.
Natasha, Troy, thank you for helping guide this. Dave, Janelle, and Kristen, thank you so much to the Southwest team. On behalf of the entire NGPA Board of Directors, our executive leadership team, our volunteers, and over 2,500 members here at NGPA, thank you for sharing a little bit of your Southwest love. Coming up next are going to be some slides from us here at NGPA, including some website addresses for Southwest Airlines for their career site, as well as their Destination 225 program, as well as the email address where Kristen said it herself. Feel free to send them an email. They will do their best to get back to you, respond to you, and kind of help coach you along to hopefully have you as a cohort at Southwest Airlines in the near future when things get back to normal. On behalf of NGPA, thanks for joining our Up in the Air webinar. Troy.
I'm going to plug one more thing. I know you've all been listening, but take a minute to visit our website and consider joining NGPA today. That's all I have.
And we'll see you next week, 4 p.m. on March the 10th. We sit down with our friends at Delta Airlines for our next Up in the Air webinar series. Thanks for joining us, everybody. From NGPA, we're out. Have a great rest of your week.